Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are taking a seriously dark descent into the very architecture of society. We're going to use the lens of a grim Gothic fable to absolutely dismantle the polished lies of human institutions. Think of this as a Nietzschean journey into how we use language and ceremony to just hide from the terrifying reality of the void. And more importantly, we're going to see what happens when a jester finally decides to hold up a mirror to all our comfortable illusions.
So we kick things off in a realm ruled by the master of form. This guy represents absolute rigid order. I mean, he points to things like approved mourning clothes and the so-called noble titles given to base human hunger. And he just asks this question: why do you doubt the straight lines of our station? Look closely at the philology here. Notice how he uses this highly elevated language and these grand ceremonial titles to basically sanitize and control the messy, chaotic reality of human nature.
But then enter our catalyst, the jester. He casually adjusts his bells and calls this so-called divine reason exactly what it is: polished lies. You see, these aren't divine truths at all. They're just social arrangements specifically built to domesticate failure. It's basically a massive structural wall designed to hide the quiet rot seeping from the corners of society, all to protect the sovereign self from the terrifying indifference of the universe.
And this brings us to a frankly brilliant Nietzschean clash. On the left side here, the master of form is your ultimate Apollonian architect, right? Completely obsessed with ceremony, straight lines, and comfortable illusions. But on the right, you have the jester, channeling pure Dionysian energy. He's bringing the void, the grotesque and raw, unfiltered truth. It's this epic battle between the comforting masks we all wear and the terrifying reality lurking underneath.
So, to prove his point, the jester offers a wager. He proposes to just rip away this painted surface entirely and force the kingdom to look directly into the abyss, or what he calls the not-self. Now, what is the not-self? It's that absolute, terrifying, universal indifference that we are constantly trying to avoid by wrapping ourselves up in the warm, cozy blanket of ceremony and tradition.
To win this wager, the jester takes us on a systematic three-step descent. First up, we'll visit the churchyard to unmask grief. Then we'll move into the gilded hall to unmask power. And finally, we'll enter the cathedral to unmask faith itself. Let's get into it. Step 1 on this descent, the arithmetic of grief.
We step into this bleak, gray churchyard where a village is performing the approved, highly rehearsed weeping for a local authority figure. It is textbook herd morality. The jester watches this whole spectacle, corners the air, and asks, "Hey, is this sorrow actually real, or is it merely arithmetic calculated against a father's estate?" He then literally morphs into the shape of the widow's fear, exposing the profound, hidden relief she had layered right underneath those performative tears.
The crucial takeaway for us here is that this kind of public grief is just a shield. It's simply a way to perform belonging while keeping the absolute strangeness of death at a safe distance. But think about it. It provides zero genuine food for the spirit. The institution completely ignores the actual reality of the human body, offering shivering crowds nothing but the hollow comfort of tradition. Moving right along, we hit step 2, the mockery of the sacred feast. Inside this wildly opulent gilded hall, the lords of the kingdom sit at a grand table, completely mistaking their own personal advantage for the divine order of creation. Here, the jester shifts gears and plays the satirist. He points out how their excessive spread of food is really just signaling social rank rather than actual hunger. It's a total mockery of the sacred feast. He strips away their performative sincerity, all those polite words and noble titles, and exposes them as nothing more than raw, naked appetite.
Now, the mechanism of their unmasking here is just brilliant. A gargoyle releases this pulse of absolute silence, which forces a marble angel to audit their souls. Just look at the stark contrast in this audit. Their public claims of virtue, built on negotiated expressions and the wine of old consequence, are utterly shattered by their actual, lived practices of raw appetite and dishonest negotiation.
The result of this is striking. By the end of the night, the lords are left sitting entirely alone in the cold, white light of revelation. Their masks of belonging have completely dropped away. And this proves, without a doubt, that raw truth absolutely cannot be contained or silenced by institutional walls or some ceremonial form.
Which brings us to our final and definitely most intimate descent. Step 3.
the muscle memory of faith.
In the Candlelit Cathedral, the jester targets the high priest. This is a man who has administered the sacred for 40 years, using literally nothing but the empty muscle memory of his rituals. The jester hits him with a devastating question. Have you actually tasted the faith you preach, or is it merely a shield against the questions you stopped asking 30 years ago? It's a pretty profound critique of institutional complacency kicking in after genuine spiritual vitality has died off.
And this brings us right to the core of the kingdom's failure. The priest finally realizes that his ceremonies basically acted as a favorable tariff, one that made the body cold and locked the door against genuine suffering. He forgot a crucial Nietzschean truth. The body isn't just some vessel you have to endure, it is the actual form the spirit takes in the world. His rigid institutions had literally locked out the true meeting place between the human and the holy.
Of course, this total unmasking brings us to the inevitable fallout, shattering the familiar home.
Naturally, the kingdom's elite do not take kindly to having their comfortable illusions destroyed, right? They scream at the jester, calling him a surgeon of the grotesque. But the jester fires back with this incredibly profound observation. He says the true rot in society isn't found in a specific, isolated crime. No, the rot is in the sincerity that has forgotten how to examine itself. The straight lines of their society are really just a convenient illusion, hiding a parasite.
By acting as the not self-made flesh, the jester proves a terrifying philosophical point. If even one single mirror cracks, the entire social throne is revealed to rest on stones of refusal. It's like a house of cards. He systematically divides the kingdom's masks, acting almost as a prophet who names out loud what the court had quietly agreed to leave unnamed, transforming those performative lies into undeniable truth. And that brings us to the conclusion of this uncanny journey, the lit room. With the social ceremonies fully dismantled, we see a return to true function. The kingdom is no longer this comforting map of certainty. Instead, it becomes a swirling darkness pierced only by emerald dragonlight. Now that sounds intense, but it isn't a tragedy, because stripping away the lies allows the great star's unconditional presence to fall on everyone, regardless of ceremony. The spirit finally returns to its primary, vital function, which is simply asking. Reality is no longer a hollow joke. It is a living, absolute revelation. Which leaves us with the jester's final, lingering provocation. Once all the illusions are stripped away, once the polished words are shattered, and you are standing in the stark light of truth, what you do with the lit room is the only question that remains. Really think about that as you navigate the straight lines and polished ceremonies of your own reality. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember, never stop questioning the straight lines.